Good evening. Today I will be going over chapters 3 and 4 and my reflection on them. So basically, chapter 3 is titled, You Are Already Leading. You're already a leader, you're just not leading frequently enough. And so to this point, basically, my takeaway from the chapter was it's not necessarily that you're not doing it frequently enough, like you're not leading frequently enough. It's more like you don't acknowledge the fact that you're leading. So, for example, the book mentioned like a couple work examples for some people, and after reflecting on their actions, they were like, oh yeah, I did lead in that situation, didn't I? Huh. So this is kind of like a return to this idea of reflecting on what it is that we're doing on a day-to-day basis and finding our leadership opportunities within our own daily lives and our daily actions. And then I think to further along this chapter a little bit would be this idea of reflection. Like, it's only after reflecting on what we do, on all of our actions, that we are able to identify the moments where we are behaving as a leader, and we need to be able to document those, or at least like mentally. You have to keep a running, not necessarily a list, but you need to keep in mind, okay, well, what have been the past instances in which I've behaved as a leader, and then you can create like a track record of sorts of those, and you'll be able to like develop a pattern, or at least understand what your pattern of leadership is. So that's kind of what I took from this chapter. The quote that I really liked from this chapter was, everyone has a leadership story. Once again, we have this idea reiterated that leaders are not innately born. No one's born with this innate quality. Oh, I'm just going to be a leader. Like, some people have more leadership tendencies. Some people are traditional leadership tendencies, and that some people are more extroverted. They'll take a stance for things. They'll organize people. But leadership happens in many different ways. And then the book actually mentions 5 different ways in what are levels of leadership, that when they are all used, they create the perfect leader model, if you will. So it's model the way, inspire shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage from the heart. So if you're doing any of those 5 things, then basically you are behaving as a leader would. In modeling the behavior, you are demonstrating to other people who may not know what the expectations are, this is how we do things here, this is what the expectation is, do it this way. I'm modeling it for you. Inspiring a shared vision. A lot of what we deal with leadership is this debate between extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. I actually took a leadership course last fall in 2018 for the honors scholar portfolio, and basically one of the documents that we read was saying that extrinsic motivation doesn't keep a person motivated. So in a job setting, if you have people who are motivated purely by a paycheck, they're not going to dedicate themselves to the job, and they're not going to be as happy as at that job, because they're just looking for more money, and the road to more money is endless, especially in this wonderful capitalist society. The road to more money is endless. So to give you my own example, I used to get paid $12 at work, now I get paid $13.50. I don't really care, because my vision at work is to help develop young leaders. I work with predominantly high school students, so I'm trying to help build up their self-efficacy models, build up who they are as individuals. A lot of them come from really questionable family and home life situations. So we're dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression in these kids. And so I have 2 visions at work, right? I have my vision of what the business side is, but I also have a vision of every single one of my kids and who it is they can be. So they start here, and I say, you can be here, and they're like, no, I have anxiety and depression, and I'm suicidal, and I don't want to do that. And I'm like, yes, you can be all of those things. We're going to validate your experiences, and this is how you're going to grow, because you have to grow. My kids know. There's no such thing as, I can't on a shift. I hate hearing that so much. If I hear it on a shift, I send people off to go clean something, or you need to go think about what you just said, because there's no such thing as I can't. So the third bullet point is challenging the process. So again, going off of my work example, in challenging the process, a lot of kids, like I said, are coming in with these poor self-efficacy models. But in addition to that, we have a lot of miscommunication within our own management system that says, oh, well, the small things don't matter, like, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. Like, they just have a nonchalant attitude about it. So it's to challenge that process, that way of thinking. I also have to challenge my kids' like own personal self-perceptions. So kids that come into work without their belt or without their pants, nice and clean, or maybe they got some smudges on their shirt, I have to challenge their process of thinking and be like, well, why do you think it's acceptable to come into work this way? Is this you living up to your best standard? And that kind of helps create this sense of, oh, I should have pride in my work, but further than that, I need to have pride in myself. So that's really cool. The fourth thing is enabling others to act. So once again, using the work example, when I was first promoted, I would try to play Superwoman, this idea that we saw back in chapter 2 that said, oh, well, you have to do everything, you have to be everything to everybody, blah, blah, blah. So when people would move too slow for me on drive-thru, I would just kick everybody out and do drive-thru by myself. Or when people were moving too slow for me on set, I would, again, just kick people out, do it by myself. Same thing for our custer position. You can't do it, then leave and I'll do it. Like, it's fine. But then I realized after about a month or so of me behaving that way that I wasn't really providing a space for any of my kids to grow, and I couldn't effectively lead my team like that. Like, I had other things that I needed to worry about, especially with COVID and everything else, and maintaining the cleanliness of the store, making sure that we were changing our gloves, washing our hands. So I couldn't be bogged down by those other things because I was supposed to be leading my team. So in acknowledging this, I had to, first of all, take a step back and really identify the egocentrism that was going on with that statement that said, oh, well, I can do it by myself and I can do it better than you. And that has its roots in other issues, such as in Black culture, it's really popular, the saying, oh, well, I have to be twice as good in order to get half of what you got. So I would constantly feel the need to have to prove myself. But that's not really what being a leader is about. You do need to prove yourself to your team in order to build that sense of rapport. So I'm grateful for that first month that I had in showing my team, look, I know how to work. This is how I expect you to work. There are no excuses about this. But in terms of purely leading my team, I really had to take a step back and acknowledge, okay, well, this behavior isn't really working out for us, so what else do I need to do? So in that, I recognized that all of my kids had not watched our training videos. Most of our kids had not been properly trained in any given position, and a lot of our kids were going through with it's fine, it's a whatever kind of attitude. So I would come in like 30 minutes early for work. I would look at the shift schedule, and I would either call in people if I needed extra people, but I would always be rearranging the shift schedule for the next couple of months so that I could work specifically one-on-one with a couple of people that I had identified as being strong workers, or who had good work ethics, or who had been there like a long time, and who I thought could become really good trainers. I took them to the back, I had them watch the training videos, and then I went up front, I put someone else on set, which is our normal designated leader position, and I worked one-on-one with every single one of my kids on custard, which is the ice cream position, drive-through, run, set, going to dining, what the standards of cleaning our dining room was when our dining room was open. And I really just hit hard like what the expectations and the standards were. But during that time, I was also explaining to them, going back to bullet point number 2, what my vision of the store was and what my visions of the shift were supposed to be like. So that was a great leadership, like a pivotal moment for me, actually, because I was letting go of a lot of the burdens of having to prove myself and moving into a more leadership and more managerial position of saying, okay, no, you need to be competent in this position. I'm not going to do your job for you because I'm needed over here. So I need to depend on you as my fellow team member. which was, it's really cool to see the process now. Those kids that I took and worked with have now all been promoted to trainers. 2 of them are up for promotion to become managers. So I'm really excited to see all of this growth in my kids. The final thing that this chapter points out is encouraging from the heart. Now this is really important, and I'm just going to keep using the work example because it's the thing that besides my education, that's the other thing I'm the most passionate behind. So encouraging from the heart can only be accomplished if you have a vision, so going back to number 2 again, but also if you have your why. If your why is too weak, then it's not going to amount to anything. Oh, for example, I'll do my hair. When I was a junior in high school, I said to my mom, who happened flat iron my hair. My mom is I actually have a picture of my mother right here. With her cute little graduation, she got her master's of science or whatever back in 2013. But you see her, and she is not my color, first of all. But if you can kind of see her hair is long and silky and smooth and doesn't have any of the curly nonsense that I got going on here in the back. So she would always flat iron my hair. And I said, Mom, I can't keep flat ironing my hair like this. I don't think that is healthy for my hair. I don't know. I was just going off of a gut feeling. And because I was only going off of a gut feeling, my mom was like, girl, no, you don't look presentable. You need to go flat iron your hair. And so halfway through junior year, I was like, Mom, I don't care what you say. I looked up the research for it that said, for 4C, 4B kind of hair, which is what I have, you shouldn't be flat ironing it because it creates a lot of damage. It ruins the curl pattern, all this different stuff. And so she still didn't listen to me. It wasn't until my senior year when I started looking into specifically Black history and Black culture and Black oppression within the American context that I was able to convince my mom, Mom, look, this is my hair. I am a Black woman. I have really curly hair. My hair is going to continue to be quote unquote nappy because that's just how my hair is, just as much as my skin is Black. You can't change these things. And suddenly, she was all ears and oh yeah, that's a really good point. So I was able to convince her from my heart. At first it started with my gut, right? I was like, no, I don't think this is a good idea anymore. You're not going to work. But then it had to change into more of a pillar for me. It had to be rooted in something that was beyond just a gut feeling. And for me, that was the study of Black history. Mom, this is my culture. This is who I am. You can't keep denying me this. So that same concept, being rooted in something a foundational principle, is the only way I believe that we can actually encourage from the heart. Because without it being a pivotal aspect of who we are as people, it's not going to come from your heart. It's going to be some superficial thing that says, oh, well, I care, but, only as much as my paycheck allows me to care kind of thing. If you want another example from work, like I was saying, I get paid $12 an hour. I used to get paid $12 an hour, and I get paid $13.50. Woo, yay, raise. But I always reminded my kids that I'm not here for the money. I'm here for you guys. We would all get paid right around the same. They were getting paid anywhere from $11.50 to $12. And I'm like, look, guys, I'm asking you to do this work because, I have a vision, right? Again, going back to number 2, I have a vision. I'm modeling for you the behavior that I expect to see on my shifts. I've taught you all what the standards and expectations are, so there's really no excuse at this point. But most importantly, I want to see you guys grow and improve, right? And that's been my fundamental thing in working here, and that's why I've chosen to stay at my job, even though it has a questionable pay rate, because I'm able to work with these kids so much and be able to actually see them grow and help them grow and develop, which isn't something that I've gotten at other jobs. I've worked at all fast food restaurants, McDonald's, Wendy's, and there's no growth opportunity. It's just, oh, you show up to work on time, boom, you're a manager, basically, because, the low retention rates at these other restaurant locations. But at Culver's, you have kids that are staying there for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. For a lot of people, this is their first job, and they can, from high school, and they continue it all the way through graduating college. So it's hella dope, is all I'm going to say about that. What else did I write? Actually, that was it. So to answer the questions here that were provided, the self-coaching action, I think I kind of already did that with all the examples that I've given. Who's involved? Yeah, so again, let's just use work as my example. I've already answered 1, 2, 3. I need to learn how to work on communicating with a team. I've never had to put a team together before, and I have the opportunity now at work to create both a leadership development team and a safety team. The safety team is going to be dealing with like food safety and safety on the shift and safety during COVID and like ensuring that we're actually following all the correct procedures so that none of our guests and none of our clients get sick because, you know, we're selling like rotten fish or something. Like everything has a process and procedure for a reason, and it's important for our kids to understand that. So I need to learn how to first organize my team, organize my ideas, and then effectively communicate with them. But I think once I'm given a framework, I'm really good at communicating. But if I don't have a framework to work out of, then all of my ideas are kind of just up in the air. And I keep saying that my brain has to like the framework. So if I don't understand really what the framework's asking of me, I'm going to be equally confused whether I have the framework or not. So that's something I need to work on. The values that I hold myself to in the store, a lot of people say that they're like high, like too high, too crazy values to maintain for such a low paying job. But I really have bought into the whole brand idea of making sure that everyone who leaves Culver's, you know, all of my guests are happy. You'll hear me use the word guest instead of like client. I don't even remember other words that people use, but they are my guest. I'm happy to serve. Welcome in, you know, welcome to Culver's. It's a big happy family feel, and that is the underlying principle that I have with everything, which is how I'm able to encourage on a more personal, more intimate level with my team members. Like, look, I'm gonna call you out on your stuff. I'm still gonna love you and support you, but I am also going to be calling you out, and it's building that rapport. So, and then how do you recognize individual contributions? So I'm a music education major, and in music, especially with band, there's a lot of opportunity to give immediate feedback. So I've kind of taken a lot of those principles and applied it to my work experience in that if I see kids doing really good on stuff, so the way it's set up, I have set here in the middle and I have custard and drive-through over here on my left. So I have direct contact, direct line of sight to my drive-through and custard station, which is our busiest section, no matter the year. And so if I notice that there are a lot of changes with the orders that are going on at the cashier window, or if I notice that our times are really low on drive-through, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to ask them, like, hey, what's up? What's going on? How you doing? Like, do you guys need to switch? Like, what's up? And same thing for custard. However, let me finish that thought first. I'm sorry. And then the same thing for custard. Like, custard has to get the custard ready in time for the food. And a big issue we used to have was properly blending shakes. So, for example, with our chocolate shakes, we would have chocolate streaks all around the cup, like let's say it's this cup, right? And instead of it being nice and clear how it's supposed to be, it has like a chocolate streak like all around it. And beforehand, people used to be like, oh, it's fine, like it's a chocolate shake, like it's blended enough. And I'm like, no, this is not the standard. You have to blend the shake all the way. I don't want to see the streak. And there used to be a lot of back and forth about the importance of blending shakes until, of course, so we hit our summer rush and I was scheduled on custard and I was training my kids on custard. And I taught them how to move faster, how to prioritize their time, and how to effectively blend shakes. So I will frequently yell at my kids from set and be like, hey, go blend your shake better. That's me being mean. When I first started, I was just like, oh, would you mind blending your shake just a little bit more, please? But now my kids know me. I know them. I know what our levels and boundaries are. And I'm like, yo, you want to blend your shake? So it's really cute. But on that same note, to acknowledge the individual contributions. I'm always thanking people on shifts because it really is a team effort, and it's not going to run smoothly without that team push. So I work with a lot of elderly people, like 70 and above, who are still kicking it, still rocking it, still working. And I'm always thanking them, like, hi, thank you so much for running as I hand them the bag of food. Thank you so much for running this. My lovely abuelita at the workforce, she's always stocking, always cleaning, and I'm always like, Margarita, I don't know how you do it, but thank you so much, because obviously I'm crushed with all the orders that are coming down, and she makes sure that my station is stocked. The sauces are stocked here on my left, bags are stocked in front of me, napkins, spoons, everything. So it's really such a cool team effort. Same thing with drive-thru. If I notice that they're doing well, I'll be like, oh, okay, drive-thru, let's take a picture, let's frame this. First or second place, pretty on top of things. And my poor custard babies. Custard is like the mental health issue of Culver's, because it gets like really intense. But I have a lot of verbal positive reinforcement with them. And I'm like, you are doing so great. You are a king at custard. I developed different levels of custard competency, of custard squire, custard prince or princess, and then custard queen and custard goddess. I am obviously a custard goddess. Everyone aspires to be at my level. The ego talking. But no, I've given my kids a framework to work with. Again, giving people frameworks and opportunities to prove themselves in a sort of token economy has been the way I acknowledge a lot of individual contributions and celebrate team accomplishments. Sometimes I order pizza, on a really stressful night, and I'm like, wow, that was awful, terrible dinner rush. Let's order some pizza, guys. And my kids will stay after their shift and just sit around in the lounge area eating pizza and just talking, which is really nice. So I was going to go into chapter 4 on this video, but I'm already at 20 minutes, so I think I'll do that for a different video. So thank you very much.